Do red light beds help cure cancer, reverse aging, decrease inflammation, turn on your mitochondrial health? All of these things are what we're talking about today in our conversation with the founder of Energy Lounger. We have a transparent conversation about consumer science and claims and marketing and the red light therapy space in general, which I think was really interesting. He had some really profound insights about what the future of science looks like, especially for consumer decision making. So if you're interested in that, please continue listening. And at the very end, in this little solo episode, in the lab results section, I decide whether or not the Energy Lounger is something that passed the lab results test and if it's something that I would buy myself. And what I determined for this one was... What up, peeps? Welcome back to the Decision Lab. We are talking with Barry today. He's the founder of Energy Lounger. I'm excited to chat with him. We just talked to another red light company previously on our last episode, so I'm excited to dive in here and get to know you a little bit better, Barry.
Awesome. Thanks for allowing me to be here. It's great to hear that so many interesting podcasts are coming out about red light and the amazing thing it's doing for people. So a little bit about me. I'm originally from New Zealand. I was actually born in California. My dad was at Davis University, but effectively raised in New Zealand till I was 21. I studied exercise physiology at university to learn how the body functions, what's good for the body, what's not good for the body, why movement and strength is important, how we can optimize aging, and also working with special populations. So people with back pain, cancers, autoimmune conditions was all part of that training. So that led me on to what was meant to be a 3-year overseas experience, working in Japan and England, but has so far turned into a 29-year working experience that's encased countries like Thailand, Vietnam, the Maldives in the Indian Ocean, Cyprus, Spain, to name a few. And now for the last 2 years, been focused on the States, based out of Miami for the last year and a half. But as I tell people, when you have your own company, you're based on an airplane in the first sort of 2 years. So lots of travel. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. What if I'd known you back in middle school, would I have guessed that you'd be running a wellness brand?
I think so, because I was always sort of really interested in helping people get over their injuries and sort of talking to them like if they'd had an injury on the sports field, how to rehabilitate that and do some stretching and some manipulation to help them accelerate their recovery. So it's something I've always had a passion for.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Before Energy Lounger, who were you trying to become? And who are you trying to become now?
Yeah, so I think I've always evolved. If I look at my career, I started in the fitness field. I then moved into spas. I then moved into functional medicine, anti-aging clinics. Then I was a consultant and I did some specialty work in both spas, fitness, and resorts. So who I've been trying to come is like my travels. It's an ongoing mission. I don't think there's an end destination.
I like that answer. Yeah, that's awesome. What were you doing in these specialty clinics, in the spas, in these like different places you were in? What was your day-to-day like?
So in the beginning, I was very hands-on. I was personal training in London. I was managing the gym. I was doing deep tissue therapy work for clients that wanted deep tissue massages. I then moved into wellness resorts in Asia, where it was a lot of education, so training the local staff on these advanced treatment protocols and advanced workout routines. And then I really sort of accelerated right into really operationally management. So less hands-on. I would still run the occasional training for staff, really the running the business and growing the business with all that entails.
It's interesting. It's something that you might know better than others because of your world travels is what is the wellness industry like around the world? Like, I know what it's like in the US kind of, but what's it like in the rest of the world?
I think every country has its own spin on this. If we look at conditions like diabetes, that's on the rise worldwide. But if you look at certain countries where they seem to not have these problems and you understand their culture, it's very obvious to see different cultural changes. So if I look at, for example, when I lived in Japan, and a lot of people talk about the Okinawa longevity and how people live long and live in a community. Actually, Japan lives like that. So although Okinawa is singled out, it's, Tokyo is a crazy city. It's a massively density. You've got lots of people living on top of each other, but pretty much everyone walks everywhere to get on or off the train, or they're cycling. So there's active in their day-to-day well-being. They focus on, where they eat, for example. A lot of places you're eating on the floor. Well, in the West, we don't really get on the floor after a certain age. So these cultural things that definitely make a difference. But I think where you've got access to integrative or alternative medicine, these cultures tend to do better than those ones relying solely on a Western medicine approach. And there are countries in Asia that do focus on a Western medicine approach rather than a holistic approach. If you look at a country like Singapore, for example, they're very advanced in Western medicine. If you look at Thailand, you've got sort of a hybrid of very advanced hospitals, but also a lot of access to traditional Chinese medicine, Thai medicine, and other healing modalities in their culture.
Wow, that's interesting. Is there a place that you've been that's surprised you in any way?
I think what was really surprising when I first went to Thailand, in the West, we're used to shaking hands. In Asia, it was very much when I first got there, you weren't meant to shake someone's hand. You were meant to just give them the Y, the Thai greeting. You certainly weren't meant to sort of give someone a hug or be very tactile. And then on the upper extreme of that, they have Thai massage, which is a very tactile, very physical treatment. So you sort of go from this culture where they're not meant to greet each other, and then you're laying down and someone's basically kneeling and walking and pressing all over you. So that was
Wow.
kind of the biggest culture shock from a sort of the culture is don't touch, but then their treatment is very much, yeah, you certainly get it's like a passive yoga. You're lying there as your legs being manipulated around. So yeah, that was probably one of the biggest cultural differences that I noticed.
That's wild. Has your definition of success shifted and changed based on all of the different cultures you've experienced through your travels?
I think success is always measured how the matrix you want to look at. So, when I first looked at being a therapist, it was how quickly I could get someone over the injury. When I started running business, it was how good the P&L looked. I think now with Energy Lounger and where I'm based, it's about all of those things, how quickly we can help people, what's the bottom line look like, how successful are the marketing campaigns. So I would say it's a moving matrix, but it still comes back to fundamentally, I've always wanted to help people.
Got it. Yeah, I was talking to my brother last night, or not last night, 2 nights ago at dinner, and we were talking about our definitions of success. And my perspective is it's not a noun, it's a verb. Like it's something that's constantly shifting and changing. So to hear you say that it's kind of shifted and grown and changed with you makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, definitely. I think any static goal is not a goal that should be achieved. You should always be stretching that. So yeah, it has to be dynamic.
Yeah. On any journey like this, entrepreneurial journey, there's generally problems and challenges. Like my background's trauma therapy, so I love to understand the internal battles. So are there any internal battles like self-doubt, burnout, imposter syndrome that you've had to overcome behind the scenes on this journey of yours?
I would say every entrepreneur goes through a stage of this is getting very difficult. Do I stop? I think that is a message that has a volume, and most of the time you try and keep that at zero. But certainly on the hard days, it does turn up the dial a bit. But I think all those struggles make you stronger, and it really just keeps you able to turn that volume down quicker if it starts to show up.
Yeah. How have you learned to turn down that I want to quit volume throughout your career?
I've looked at all of the journeys that I've seen people go on, and I've listened to a lot of, sort of stories of where people have gone. And I've just really taken that on board to zero that volume. I do a lot of mindful practices, so breathing techniques and just being aware that, hey, that volume's creeping up, just hit that dial back down to zero.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's definitely something to be said for biographies, autobiographies, like understanding that other people and other entrepreneurs and other people have gone through what you've gone through and they figured out a way to get through and then it wasn't linear is really powerful. Have you ever listened to the Founders podcast by chance?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that podcast. I've listened to every episode and I am very similar. I do the same thing. There's moments where you're like, oh my God, am I going to make it through this? And it's like, damn. And just hearing stories from famous, not even just famous, some of the people he talks about are just random. Like, it's like, whoa. But that's been super helpful for me as well, for sure. What about on the mental and emotional side? Like this is a challenge I can personally attest, anxiety attacks and panic and all sorts of things that I've had to struggle with as a founder. Like, how do you handle the mental and emotional side of being a founder?
I think the biggest thing is have a great support networks. Although I'm an independent company, I have board of directors that I can call up and have a chat to. We've formed an unofficial red light collective with 5 different brands of red light therapy, and then we've brought in some other people that have other devices. And talking's really important. I was new to the States. I don't have a network of friends here, but I've formulated these professional connections that have become friendships, and you can talk both sides of it. Hey, I'm lonely. What are you up to? Should we go out for dinner? Or I'm bored. Want to go to the beach? Or hey, are you going to this trade show? Let's co-exhibit together so we can help each other out. So
Nice.
that's really, I don't really do the anxiety. I have to say, in the beginning, the biggest anxiety I had was when I packed up the Energy Lounger and relied on a transport company to get it back to a trade show or a booth. But personally, I don't sort of get anxious about those things. But I would say the loneliness is sometimes part of the journey of an entrepreneur. So if you can build that friends network as fast as possible and build those connections, even if they're an employee, they're in a similar boat, they're going through similar struggles. So that would be my advice. Get on to that as fast as possible. Don't try to just be steadfast and do it alone.
Hell yeah. We had a neuroscientist called, or his name is Dr. Paul Zak, and he studies oxytocin and social connection. Like, that's what he's famous for. And he talks about how important social connection and having that support network is for your mental and emotional health, and just builds resiliency, makes you like so strong mentally when you can do that. So that's awesome. Do you know John Harper Graham from Lumaflex?
So he's one of our collective. So he's a great mate. Actually, we
Okay, I
shared an
think
apartment in Miami for a while.
no way. Okay, that's who I in the intro. That's who I was mentioning.
Okay. Yeah, no, he's a great guy. Amazing
Yeah,
product too.
yeah. We just literally talked to him last week about Lumaflex and then Sarah Turner. I don't know if you know her, but
I'm exhibiting with her. I'm helping her out here in Austin with the Sarah
okay,
system.
that's crazy. Okay, yeah. We forever ago we she was one of the first people we had on the podcast actually, and we talked to her about what she's up to as well, which is close to my heart because my background's cognitive neuroscience. So and that's her specific device is focused on that. So kind of cool to everyone's kind of interconnecting. So speaking of red light, what got you initially interested or sparked your passion for this industry?
I actually had to remind myself of when the first time I experienced red light therapy was the other day when I was talking to a chiropractor. So when I was young, I was a gymnast, and I had a bit of an accident doing I was showing off and I shouldn't have been. So I crashed and burned. But during that crashing and burning, I injured my back quite badly. So I had to go through chiropractic rehabilitation. I had to do daily exercises, and one of the devices that I got given was a red light lamp, and it turned out to be an infrared lamp, which it was about yay big, and you could localize it over the injury. So that was my first exposure. But then I kind of went into study, and we were looking at things like ultrasound, and we were looking at contrast therapy with hot and cold, and we didn't really go into red light therapy in my studies at all. Fast forward nearly 30 years, and I'm looking at, 25 years, and I'm building a wellness resort, and red light therapy is, it's showing up on podcasts, it's showing up in media. And I realized that personally, I didn't know much about it. What I did notice is that a lot of the devices were of a similar nature. They were sort of an enclosed, I say tanning bed because that's the closest thing I could recognize it as. And coming in from the wellness and biomechanics side, I'm like, well, if you've got an injury, you don't want to be flat. Although the treatment is good for lowering inflammation, from a structural point of view, when you have that injury, you're really concerned about what position you're being put in, so ergonomics. And when I was looking to buy this device and I couldn't find it, I was at a trade show and I met a Dutch company called Lighttree Ventures, and I'd always kept that in mind. So I went over to them and I approached them and I told them this concept and this idea. Being a Dutch company, they handed me a beer, and we were having a beer during the meeting and brainstorming. And at the end of 4 meetings, we were ready to move forward, and they said, oh, for this it'll cost X amount. That X was quite a big amount, and I didn't have that X in my bank account. So I sort of went, okay, well, I don't have that much money. I'll go and do some fundraising and come back. And without missing a beat, they said, no, we want to join this company. We want to form it with you. So
Wow.
the manufacturer is my partner. So that's so powerful to have that relationship, and
Yeah.
so helpful. But it also shows that we talked earlier about, when you feel like giving up, sometimes things just fall on your lap and you're like, well, that's incredible. How would you not move forward with this opportunity? Because money is such a big hiccup in people getting started around this space. So I feel very much aligned that this was meant to come to fruition.
And how long ago was that? Like when was all of this kind of happening?
About 3 years ago, we launched. July is our 2-year anniversary, so just around the corner. But there was sort of a year of building up, of making templates, doing research, that little virus that shut the world down for a
Oh
while.
yeah, that thing.
So yeah, that thing. But yeah, it's been an amazing journey. During that time, my mum unfortunately had a relapse for brain cancer, so I was actually back in New Zealand looking after
Oh,
her and giving her red light and doing all of the things that we could do to support her journey. Yeah, she's since left us. The time of doing that, time spent with her while this was being developed, was again, you know, you couldn't write that script. It was like, okay, there's a pause in getting the energy lounger to life. Okay, well, you've got time. Why don't you go home? You haven't been home for a while, to New Zealand. And yeah, I could just go through that and really nurse her through that end of life stage. So it's a little off the beaten track, but that was part of the journey as well.
hey, everyone's journey is different. I'm sorry to hear that happened, but it sounds like you were able to be with her in those moments. So it doesn't sound like it's something you regret.
Definitely not. I mean, I'd regret if I didn't do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. It's a blessing that you got that opportunity. So that's awesome. I love that. All right, let's move into your claim to fame then. We kind of dipped our toe a little bit, but just bottom line for us, tell us what Energy Lounge is and why we should care in 60 seconds.
So all red light therapy devices are going to help mitochondrial support, lowering inflammation. But a lot of red light therapy devices are not taking into account ergonomics. So I wanted to and have created a very efficacious red light therapy session in 20 minutes that will lower inflammation, take patients and clients away from pain and towards well-being.
So for the layperson who might not know what ergonomics is, could you explain what that is and why it matters?
Yeah, so ergonomics is the study of the posture that you sit in. So if you think of, probably the biggest application is if you're working in an office, human resources will come around, they'll check your desk height, your chair height. If you do have an ongoing concern, they'll look at changing that seat. When you drive a car, you're allowed to adjust the seat to fit your comfort. But given people their own resources, sometimes they don't know what feels comfortable. So one of the most comfortable positions when you have back pain is actually to have your legs bent and your feet while supporting your back. So this was a position that maybe people wouldn't really put themselves in because they don't know maybe to put pillows under their legs or to support the back and the angle they are. So that's why it's really important in recovery. In nutrition, we say to athletes, we want you to rest and digest. I talk about in red light therapy, I want you to rest and recharge. So it's very common that people will fall asleep in 2 to 3 minutes of having an energy lounger session.
Yeah, I can't remember if it's the military method or I can't remember what it is, but there is some method of rapid sleep induction that involves elevating your legs and like knocking you out as well. So is that at all a part of what's going on with that, or any thoughts on that?
Thoughts are, if you're light deficient and we give you a high dose of light, it's like having a big meal. You're going to have to rest afterwards. So if we can make you as comfortable as possible and induce that, it's kind of a foregone conclusion that you're going to fall asleep.
Nice. Yeah, getting the parasympathetic on. That makes sense. I like that. So we talked about a couple already, but there are other companies that are doing red light therapies. They're doing all sorts of infrared saunas and all sorts of different things. Why did you start your own instead of just buying their stuff? Is there no one else doing the ergonomic piece?
Correct. There was no one else at that stage. So when I was in that marketplace, I had the budgets to buy it and I just couldn't find it. And even now there are some companies coming out that use a different shape than straight or flat. And that's great to see because it's so important for human health. But they still aren't quite the same shape as us. So I think we're safe for a while.
Got it. I like that. Is there anything else that differentiates you from other traditional red light therapies or different things?
I think when we launched, it was very much a mission to be able to help as many people as possible. And some of the devices on the market are priced at a point where it's not really attainable. Coming out of COVID and businesses being shut down, they couldn't always have those big budgets to pay for those more expensive devices. We're at a very competitive price point. Because I've run those resorts, we also have a massive support network of sales and marketing, and a lot of the soft skills in helping them design menus, doing their pricing, building their membership base for them. So I think we really stand out as you're not buying a device, you're buying a solution, and it's a 360-degree solution from getting the device in, getting customers, marketing and sales support, and just always at the end of a phone call, so they can call the team for if they want to do a special marketing campaign, or if they're trying to do a biostack and they want an image created of like a couple of treatments happening at the same time on the energy lounger, then we do that. It's all just part of the service from having an energy lounger in your facility.
It's interesting. We talked with a guy, he's also actually in Austin. He lives there, Beam Hyperbarics, and he also has like, he's doing hyperbarics obviously, but has like this concept of doing multiple things, the biostack you're talking about, doing the red light, doing the electrical stimulation, doing the whatever. There's tons of things that he kind of talks about. So it's interesting that this is something that you also have in mind.
Yeah, so again, when we developed the lounger, because I've done a lot of IV clinics, it's a lounge chair. You can have an IV, you can have your oxygen or your nano V, your breathable, you can do some mindful work. So what I explain to all the clients is the only thing we don't have is time. It's the one thing that if we show that we're taking the utmost respect of your time by being able to give you a multiple sensory, highly beneficial experience in under half an hour, that's so rewarding for the receiver of that session.
Yeah, that's true. Who is your ideal client? I was on the website and kind of, I couldn't tell if it was like, is it an individual consumer or is it more these clinics and wellness spas and things like that?
So I'm going to answer that question in two ways. The first way is someone said, where's the best place for an energy lounger? And I said, under your bum. Because if you're sitting on it, it's in the best place. But our clients are twofold. We do a lot of medical clients. So we have IV clinics, chiropractic offices, rehab facilities. And then on the other side of that, we have professional athletes. In the beginning, I was installing so many in people's private homes that I was actually wondering when we were going to get into clinics and be able to help more people during the day. Because in someone's home, maybe 4 or 5 people are using it. Whereas in a clinic, they're giving sessions of 16 to 20 people in a day. So my personal goal is to be able to help 1 million people a month as my first goal. So it's great that people are putting it in their private homes, but helping 20 people a day as opposed to 4 people a day, I'm going to hit 1 million a lot faster.
Yeah. Hit them in batches as opposed to one-offs.
Yeah. So
yeah, I feel that.
It's wherever someone wants to put it. We've installed it in a hairdresser's corporate office. They wanted it for their staff. We've got it in professional athletic teams as well as private individual athletes' homes. So it's anyone that's interested in longevity and well-being and has the resources to buy it, understands that they can stack with it. I also don't like cleaning. So although I love infrared saunas, I hate cleaning them. And because we have infrared in the lounger, it's just very easy to clean off the lounger and ready for the next person.
Nice. I like that. You're in the red light infrared space, this industry. What's something that's broken or frustrating about this industry from your vantage point?
Education. I was at a show recently and another red light company had said, the energy lounger wouldn't work because it's an opaque cover. It has to be clear. That would be like saying your tinted windows you can't see out of because they're black. So the understanding of light and how light works and how you measure light and how you can sense it is still not really understood well in our industry. But it is very often delivered through a clear perspex or a clear lens cover. So us being unique in that respect allows me as a therapist to look at the person without getting a very intense light coming back off the lounger because the opaque gives it more of a glow than a beam out. That doesn't mean that everyone else is doing it wrong. It's just, again, we have a slightly different approach, and people need to understand that why, which I'm very happy to educate them, by the way. So I think supporting each other in red light therapy and in the messaging is really important. And that's why people like John and Sarah, we form this collective so we can really educate people. So when we have our booths, it's like a university of red light. We're just educating everyone that's there. And I say people pre-qualify themselves to buy the Energy Lounger because they've understood the message and they want or need that in their practice or in their personal life.
And something we're passionate about on this pod is understanding what science is leading the charge on this education that's being delivered and things. And it's something that when we talked to John, he mentioned a collective as well, and something that he really wished there was more of was like hardcore research around specific claims and specific devices and things like that. Because that would help so much. That would help so many people in that collective and help the general public understand some of this stuff more effectively as well. So it's interesting. Education seems to be at the core of a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, what I do is I set up my Google alert. So I get a red light therapy alert every single day from Google. And I would say 90% of the alerts are around devices. So what's the top 5 red light therapy masks, or what's the top panel? What really gets me excited is when you get an alert and it's from PubMed, which is the website that you can go to read a lot of research on any medical things that are coming out. And you'll get a paper like Red Light Therapy, the Unfair Advantage in Sport. And they'll do a study where they'll take athletes and give them red light therapy, and they'll take athletes and give them a placebo. And the athletes that receive red light therapy have faster recovery. They're getting faster gains, and ultimately that accumulated effect allows them to have that unfair advantage. So those are the studies that I love to get and read and quote and understand, that mechanism of action. And fundamentally, if you understand inflammation, and if you don't, go out and do 100 lunges, and then tomorrow morning when you wake up, you'll definitely understand inflammation. That delayed onset muscle soreness is fundamentally inflammation. So with red light therapy, by addressing that inflammation at a cellular level, that's how we're able to achieve the amazing effects that we get during our sessions.
Yeah, I'd love. Let's dive into the lab section here, because we're already kind of getting into some of this research. Because I've looked at some of these athlete studies, and the thing that the general public might not understand is that there wasn't a strong control for confounding variables in some of these things. There's low sample sizes in some of them. So I would love to dive into some of the earliest experiments or things that you tested with Energy Lounger in this vein of research.
Yeah, so number one thing I'd say, if I put someone on the Energy Lounger and they didn't get a result, I was going to walk away from it, because, you can't have the industry experience for 30 years and then come out with something that doesn't work. So my studies were very much on what's been published around the frequencies, what's been published around the durations. But personally, because I'm on the road doing so many trade shows, I literally walk into a trade show and I joke that I look for the broken people. I look for someone on crutches or wearing a brace or is in pain. And I'll go up and introduce myself and say, do you have 20 minutes? I'd like to be able to provide you a session. And we have video testimonials of this on our website, but I've got countless case studies where we have had no control on what they've done. We don't know their hydration. We don't know their nutrition. We don't know their sleep, but we've just seen that I've seen that they're in a 10 out of 10 pain, and ask them to come over and have a session and then let us know what they feel. And one of my favorite, I was at a spa show and I saw this lady walking out. The show was shutting down, and she could hardly walk. I did my usual. Hi, I'm Barry. I run Energy Lounger. I can see you're in a lot of pain. Have you got 20 minutes tomorrow in the morning? I'll be here early. I know you've got your booth here. And she gave the most wonderful, from tears of pain to tears of joy, getting out of that pain. So is that a study? No, it's not. Is it evidence-based? 100%, because she had no idea what she was going to be doing or experiencing, but she had such a profound effect in that 20-minute session.
Yeah, I love seeing and hearing about those types of things in relation to science and like proven clinical results and things like that. There's survivorship bias. There's no longitudinal data. How do we know what happened afterwards? Like, is there a placebo and hope that caused some of those types of things? Was something she was doing for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks before actually what resulted in it? Like, it's not a representative analysis necessarily. And so it's, while I love those types of things, I love those stories and it's so beautiful. There is a reason why there's a scientific method to control for some of these things. So how do you think about that when talking about Energy Lounger and talking about health and wellness products just in general?
Yeah, so I'll sort of default there to Sarah Turner because she is a brain scientist and she's really taking her device and stressing it with these studies and universities and application. I think from my side, I just go back to where the studies have been done and what the frequencies have been done. But I'm actually talking to some people about how can we get, a proper study where we could say, for example, lower back pain, and we can do a study on the energy lounger with lower back pain. And
Yes.
I was literally given a lead yesterday of a study that I can get the Energy Lounger into. So I'm incredibly
Amazing.
excited about that and what that's going to show. Because from a study point of view, if you just look at the Energy Lounger when it's off, it just looks like a chair. So it's still a functional piece of furniture. And all we're going to have to do is just we just swap out the lights to give a placebo light rather than the red light, and that will be an amazing study to see the results of. So watch this space. When that comes out,
Yeah.
I'll let you know. But I think
Yeah, no, I love that.
science is the most important component of making this work. But until then, I just very lucky that the chiropractors give me their testimonials, the people with MS give me their testimonials, the special populations give the feedback. And to me, until we can get that science, and when we get that science, by the way, because the way science works is going to be yes for lower back pain. Now we're going to deal with upper back pain, and then we'll deal with neck pain, and then we'll
Yep.
deal with shoulder pain, and then we'll deal
Yeah.
with frozen shoulder.
Right.
So yeah, that's just going to take time, but it's very important.
Yeah, I
And
agree. It's
and Sarah,
you.
I think, leading the charge for the collective on that. I mean, I'll give you an example. She set out her device for a particular reason, but because so many people are using it, she's getting feedback for digestive issues that people are suffering less from their digestive issues, which makes sense from a red light therapy perspective, but it's not one of her claims or what she even intended to go out and do. So there'll be a study coming out about that too. So that'll be amazing.
Yeah, I love that. And that's the biggest thing that we talk about on here is transparency and have conversations about it because research, these things aren't cheap either. Like it's not necessarily, it's a blessing, honestly, that you were able to like be the technology in a study and not have to do a whole clinical study or do a whole like independent trial by yourself because those things are expensive. So we never come at people saying, "Oh, you aren't good unless you've done an independent study and all the stuff." We just like to hear that people are on the progress, on the path to try and get their device tested as well, and not just use general research to prop up their things totally and forever.
Yeah,
So I'd
no,
love to
it's
hear that.
yeah. I mean, we very early looked at and we looked at where the science was, and when I say we, the technicians that helped with Light Tree Ventures, and we went down the rabbit hole of where are those numbers at? What's the research showing? What's the current understanding of these numbers? And we applied the understood science, let's say, and then used those previous studies to achieve FDA for pain management, for example. And, that was, again, the people that have gone before us have paved the way, but that knowledge is out there now. So we should be using that knowledge and promoting those benefits. So as soon as we get that study, buddy, you'll be the first to know.
Hell yeah. No, I love it. I just love that you guys are on the path, especially if you're working with John and Sarah. I think that's awesome. Something I'm curious about, are there any, we ask this to everybody, but are there any downside side effects, like anything that someone could be aware of or watch out for in relation to red light in general and specifically Energy Lounger?
Red light in general, I would say don't go to Amazon without third-party testing. We provide third-party testing reports. We provide our own internal reports before we ship out our energy lounges to clients. That's probably the number one because unfortunately, because of the trend, I've seen people promoting red light yoga and the light is on the ceiling. And yes, the room is red. And yes, that is red light yoga, but it's not the efficacious of being a red light experience. I also say that follow the instructions. So 100% of people get no benefit by keeping their red light therapy device in the drawer and not using it on a daily basis. So those are the first two warnings. The third warning is we have contraindications like any device. Having worked in the spa and fitness field, those contraindications are consistent across all technologies. So red light therapy, saunas, plunge pools, jacuzzis all carry the same contraindications. We're very careful around pregnancy, we're very careful around heart disease, and we're very careful around cancer. So in the UK, for example, they're using red light therapy now as approved pain management for oral cancer. But as a general disclaimer, we have to say check with your oncologist before using devices. With people
Yeah.
with cardiology or heart issues, check with your doctor before using it. So, doctors say do no harm. We should say do no harm in all of the devices that we sell. It's so vital that no matter what your intention is, there are some devices out there now that, it's a bit scary on what they're trying to do and the possible side effects of those experiences. So yeah, be careful, read the instructions, read the warnings, adhere to them. And luckily for where red light therapy is, and particularly where Energy Lounger is, we are working with medical doctors, so they are able to clear people for these conditions. Autoimmune conditions, which normally they have very little tools in their toolbox to help with, Energy Lounge is proving to be very useful in a lot of those conditions, which is great news.
What are some of these sketchy red light devices that you're talking about?
I mean, working at trade shows all the time, you often are exposed to good companies. So I would say I can't really put my finger on any particular brand or name, but I do get asked all the time, what about Amazon's? The simple answer is ask for the test reports. You know, if it says it's $30, try and think about why is it $30? Is it really medical grade LEDs? Is it really insured against you getting injured? Is it got FDA approvals? What is the warranty on it? And those are the things that come up the most often. But I think what I like to say is as long as you can get those things, there's no bad red light therapy. So get them. Ask for it. It's a simple question.
Got
And
it. It's good to have in the tool belt
yeah.
as far as people's decision making. So cool. Let's move into what we like to call the interrogation, where we get to kind of play a little bit of a skeptical buyer. What is the biggest criticism or skepticism that you get from people who hesitate to buy your product?
Why is it so cheap? Because they're looking at other devices with a few more zeros behind our one. So that's an easy answer because I've already given it to you. Our goal is to help 1 million people. So that's our first goal. And we price for value and we keep our costs lean so we can hand those over I think the biggest one that you get at a trade show is people that, is that a red light? Well, it's obviously a red light because you can visually see it and they just don't know what it means. But again, I answered it. Do you want to try? It's be skeptical. I think skepticism is very important. And I think people should be skeptical, but they shouldn't be negative with that skeptic. They keep an open mind and give it a try.
Yeah.
So
I think it's an interesting one though, because I mean, you just mentioned a second ago that the red light yoga is different than an energy lounger, which is different than a Lumaflex, which is different than a flex beam. Like it is red light. You could walk in the yoga studio and say, well, it is red light.
yep.
So and there's these different nanometers and all this different stuff that makes it's not all the same red light in a way, right?
Yeah. Well, the brake lights that you're following in a car is not the same red light, but visually it looks the same. It's red. So that's where the science does come into it because we're measuring it scientifically and giving those measurements of light in nanometers. So yeah, that's as I said at the beginning, people pre-qualify themselves to buy the Energy Lounger. And I'm very lucky with that people want to bring that into their practices to help people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. So red light is trending for sure. Lots of trends come with exaggerations and things that can kind of be confusing for people. So we like to kind of examine some of the claims people make and things that they talk about. So are there any claims that y'all make that you think could be misunderstood or confusing to people? I've got a couple that might be, but any off the top of your head?
So I'm really careful to just break down the science and say, you're in pain because you have inflammation. If we can address that inflammation at a cellular level, we will definitely have an impact on the pain that you're experiencing. And that will be a positive, not a negative impact. So you will feel less. Can we quantify that? Not always. Can we guarantee that? We don't make those claims, but with regular sessions, getting that inflammation under control will 100% help with pain. We, as Energy Lounger, as a branding and a marketing message, we try not to, we're very careful not to make claims that can't be backed up.
Got it. Yeah. So one of the things that I see a lot in this space, we see a lot, ton, is FDA cleared treatment. That does not mean it's been proven effective. it means that it's safe, meaning there's a red light device, or honestly, any device that is close enough to what you or any other founder could be trying to do. And that allows them to get FDA cleared as well, even though it wasn't with their specific device, essentially. So that's something that we see a ton, and people putting, which is something I noticed, is FDA cleared treatment for weight loss, anti-aging, pain relief, boosted immunity, things like that on your website. So what is your perspective on, because that can be confusing. Like if a general consumer sees FDA clear, they're like, oh, this means the FDA has proven this is effective in their science and all the stuff. How do you square that?
I just tell them the process. So we have to go through a usability study. We have to go through a range of procedures that have been listed out. We have to record those. We have to document them, and we have to submit them. So there is a process that you need to go through to achieve that. And it's there for those safeguards that you're not able to make erroneous claims or just stick a label on your marketing. You have to go through a process to get that.
What about in relation to the FDA cleared, like it is a safe treatment for something versus it meaning it is proven effective for something?
Well, in our space, we go from everything into lasers, that if you misuse a laser, you can do a huge amount of damage to the biology of a person. So I think efficacy and safety is, as I said, at the very middle of do no harm. You need to be very careful on those claims and those outputs, because if you've got someone in pain and they see a device that's for sale and it will set claims that it will help with pain and it doesn't work, you damage our industry. So then I tried that red light, it didn't work. Thanks for ruining the industry.
Right. Well, I mean, you seem confident with yours because on your website is it boosts metabolism, burns fat, boosts out collagen, improves elasticity, smooths fine lines for youthful skin, reduces inflammation, improves circulation, speeds up recovery. All claims being articulated. Is there something that makes you more confident about that, or something that?
I mean, because we get to have a massive amount of people come on the Energy Lounger through our trade shows, and it's me personally watching that. I'm lucky that has. I'm going to be very happy when we get our science published. So that's our next evolution, I would say, and where we're going with that. But I 100% stand behind the Energy Lounger and those claims, because I've seen it firsthand. Now with the beauty side of it, the wrinkles and that takes longer. But from the pain side of it, uh, sometimes I can't even believe it myself, because the way that they tell me they know their pain. I'll give you an example: rheumatoid arthritis. I was like,
Mhm.
we'll give it a try. I don't know if that's pain. It's coming from inflammation. And yeah, happy to say that she felt relief and she wanted it in her life. So again, pre-qualified. It's like that worked.
Yeah, fair.
So
Got it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just always curious to kind of hear how different founders think about like the claims that they make based on science and the claims that they make based on anecdotal evidence, even though it might not equate to literal science. There's something to be said, especially with these consumer devices that are hitting more and more people. I was telling John about this. I think there needs to be a new wave of consumer science in a way that helps with squaring this to where it's not millions of dollars to get research and you can use user data in some ways. I think it'd be super helpful for everybody.
There's a company now that I just heard about literally this week, and they're able to flip that study model on their head. So I think you will see more and more published studies that aren't costing the millions coming to market, and that's what I'm doing for with Energy Lounger.
That'd be amazing. I would love to see that. I'm all for that in general, even open source science. Like there's a movement towards open source science and stuff as well that I think only empowers people if there are mechanisms to look at these things, peer review these things. So I think that's a net benefit for society. Talk to me. Is there anybody who shouldn't buy an energy lounger, or like any conditions where it doesn't work in any way?
I think I just have to come back to the contraindications. Just get that approval. Again, cancer's a contraindication, but in the UK, it's used for pain management for oral cancers.
Yeah.
So you need to be monitored. You need to follow those contraindications.
Yeah. Makes sense. Cool. All right, you made it through the interrogation. Well, let's talk about the future. This is usually a really fun section for most of the founders we talk to because we're future thinkers. So just talk to us about your roadmap first and foremost. Like what is on your roadmap for the next 10, 20 years even?
Well, product development, I think we're learning more and more about light frequencies and the effect on health. I was reading a study recently where green light therapy was helping with migraines. So that was very interesting, very early stages. But imagine being able to, get people out of migraines quickly. That would be incredible.
That would be I had one this week. I could have used that exact thing. I would love it.
Yeah. So once we figure out the duration, the nanometers, the delivery mechanism, I would love to be able to bring devices to market that help with those debilitating conditions. From the brand Energy Lounger, we're going to be branding into some more different devices, some that aren't as expensive as an Energy Lounger. And we've had a large demand for, I told you at the beginning, musculoskeletal was my focus, but I also mentioned that biostacking is our help. So people have said we want to be able to get facials or face benefits while doing an energy lounger session. So we have two new developments coming in that space. And then I think I would really like to form a curated journey where we can put all of these things together and say these are tested, approved, evidence, science, the whole gambit, which takes me back to my sort of wellness resort days when we would curate journeys, but curate that from a market leader, market voice of science or a voice of authority in the marketplace, which takes time because it takes time to build authority.
Yeah.
And we're a
Yeah.
baby, too. So we'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. One step at a time. I love that. So looking at, there's the development of AI, there's data-driven health, there's new consumer trends all the time. What is your most outrageous prediction about the future of the health and wellness space?
You will be able to go to a convenience machine, type in your condition, and it will it'll pump out what you need. So you will be a vending machine of wellness or well-being. That is the wildest. And I can spit that out very quickly because I was thinking about it as I walked past a vending machine the other day. With AI, you'll be able to go, this is what I have, and it will go and be able to access and just vend it to you. Now, we have online vending already with companies like Amazon and I believe Walmart's getting aggressively into that space. So I use the word vending machine in a literal sense of plug in a requirement and it will be delivered to you rather than maybe needing telemedicine or even a doctor. And I
Yeah.
certainly see red light therapy becoming more and more mainstream. I mean, America's oxytocin debacle was addressing a very real concern. Imagine if with a bit more training and a bit more understanding, if we can use red light therapy to address that, it would be pretty incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I've seen some of these pods where you like these tech companies that are like you go step into this thing, it pricks your finger, it does your blood pressure, it does all this diagnostic stuff, and then it's starting to emerge where you can just walk into one of these, what you're saying, like vending machine or whatever, like a machine. So I think that's really interesting. I think I agree. That's where we're going a lot. If you had unlimited resources tomorrow, unlimited resources, time, energy, and money, what's a moonshot idea that you would pursue in the wellness technology space?
Wow. I think if you had unlimited money, you would be wanting to bring that to life as fast as possible and be the first on the table, because then you would be the ultimate in human performance and human well-being and longevity. So that's where I'd spend my money if it was unlimited. Mars we can visit later, but I think human health would be where I'd spend that money.
Love that. Love that. Mars is red, right? That's red. No,
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. I'm
yeah,
kidding.
exactly.
I love that. I agree. I think that would be a really interesting one. I think there's something also like a Jarvis type companion Jarvis type thing that's with you 24/7. I think there's a lot in that space as well, where it's not just the pod, it's also like between the sessions. Because you walk out of the pod and then what? Most people know what to do, but they don't do it. How do we get to the bottom of and help people with the day to day? Like, here's the roadblocks, challenges, obstacles, things they're running into. So that's something I think about a lot as well.
The quotes I heard the other day was, imagine someone gave you a pet and your job was to raise that pet as best you could. You would do that, right? And then they said, well, you're the pet.
Yeah.
I was like, shoot, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
shoot.
I
Yeah.
got to go for my
Dude, I
walk. I
see
got to get to
that.
the gym. I got to eat the right food. I got to drink less alcohol, or maybe not drink alcohol at all if you really understand the science behind it. I got to lower my toxicity load. It was such a profound thing to hear and such a simple message. It really, really hit with me. So I think that companion idea, like, we are the companion, but from a
Yeah.
biological improvement point of view, there's devices definitely that you can take with you and help your enhance your health and keep you away from disease rather than walking towards disease. That's how I give that analogy.
Yeah, there's I can't remember the name of the app off the top of my head, but our brand director, CJ, just started using it. And it's funny you mentioned this analogy because in the app, there is a little like pet thing or whatever that you see how it's doing essentially. And below it are stretch, do 5 push-ups, drink 32 ounces of water. And it's these every day, it has these different health and wellness things that you have to do as a human to keep your pet healthy in
Yeah.
the app. And I'm just like, what? And she's loving it. We were at our shoot yesterday for like a content shoot, and she's like, oh, I got to stretch. I don't want my little guy to get hurt. And she just drops on the ground and starts stretching. I'm like, there is something here that is very interesting.
I know a guy in Vegas and he talks to me about gamifying. So, how can you
Yeah.
gamify this? And it's very powerful. But I've also got the other side of me that I'm trying to keep people off the device.
Yeah.
So, one of the things we do with the Energy Lounger is we've integrated a wireless charger. We did that for two reasons. One, because we could, but two, to keep you off your phone while you're recovering. So, put that phone down, recharge your phone and recharge your body for 20 minutes. The problem with gamifying is you are back on your device. You are
Yeah.
back doing it. But I love the prompt. That prompt is, and awesome, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, great. Why shouldn't it be normal that you drop on the floor and stretch out? That's cool. I
Dude,
love
I
it.
agree. I agree. I'm
Yeah.
here for it. I mean, we're a wellness company, so I mean, and I'm in total agreement with that. I think is more AR things and different form fact, like OpenAI just bought Johnny Ive's company or whatever, and they're like coming out with a new device apparently, and it's supposed to be a different form factor than the phone. And so, if there were emerging technologies that get us off of our phone and more into the real world, like augmented reality glasses or things like that, or even like in Her, where he has the little hearing piece, but he's out in the world, those are, I think, coming down the pipe that will make a big difference. But I digress.
Yeah, I think of the wearables is where it's going in that sense. And and this example that you've just gave is probably connected to a smartwatch. He probably doesn't have to get on the phone to do it, but it's a little reminder like, hey, ding, oh yeah, I've got to do my 20
Yeah,
burpees or 5 squats or whatever it is. That's yeah, the micro exercise is very powerful.
couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. All right, let's move into the lightning lab. This is our final section. The goal here is to answer in one word, one sentence, or one story. You get to pick, but that's kind of the goal. Not going to hold you super hard to it if you get passionate about it, but that's kind of the goal. The first question is, what is an important truth in the wellness space that very few people agree with you on?
I would say your 3 a.m. friends is just as important as a pharmaceutical. And a definition of a 3 a.m. friend is someone you can call at 3 a.m. and they will be there for you and get you through whatever you need to get through.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. That's a great one, honestly. I've not heard a counterintuitive truth like that one before. It's interesting too. I'd be curious. Your definition is they're there for you. I was talking to one of my best friends yesterday about AM nights are as important to your health as getting to bed on time consistently. And what he was kind of getting at is that those nights that are 3 a.m. and you're out of bed and you're out and you're having fun and you're like living life and stuff, people forget about when they biohack themselves to death in a boring life. What's your thought on that? I'd be curious.
Balance is everything.
Yeah. Okay.
In my 20s, I could do the 3 a.m.s, the 4 a.m.s. Now I just turned 50, I'm a bit more cautious of that. That's even if I haven't fallen asleep because I've had a long day at a trade show.
Yeah.
Just after dinner. So I think we say balance, but we don't really understand what it means. But we know that if you have consistent 3 a.m. nights, it's going to damage your well-being. But
Yeah.
we know that from a mental health, from a life experience, human experience point of view, those memories are definitely worth that slight step away from your well-being for that short duration.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'm a firm believer. I read The One Thing recently. It's a book. It's an awesome book. And it talks about the act of balancing instead of balancing being a noun or a place you get to. It's an act. It's a thing that you do constantly. So that's what I kind of think about. All right. Next question is, what's a question you wish more people asked you?
When are you writing a book? Because,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I think I've got a lot to put down on paper, but I just haven't got round to it yet.
Okay. So when's it happening?
That's actually really interesting. In the biohacking community, a few people have published some books recently and they've done very, very well. And I think, I always give the analogy of a newborn baby and business. So a business ages faster than a baby, thank goodness. But in that first 1 to 2 years, you're spending all your hours looking after it and nurturing it and getting it to a very health. You don't want to go to an A&E room when you've got a newborn baby. So you're keeping that as development stage. It's all your time and all your energy. Moving into the second year, it's more like moving into the teens. They're allowed sleepovers. They get babysit, and in a few months after they hit that goal, maybe they're babysitting their siblings. So I think once I get to that stage, I'm going to have more time on my hands. But from my own point of view, I do need to sit down and write a goal for this to happen. Otherwise, it will just be a thought that doesn't come to fruition, like anything that's not written down.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Someday kills more dreams than imperfect action ever will. So
Yeah.
I agree completely. All right, last question we got, paradoxically enough, is actually from John. So every person we have on the podcast, we asked to leave a question for the next guest. And it just so happens that John Graham from Lumaflex was the last person we talked to. So he actually left you a question. He didn't know it was going to be you, but he got to leave you a question. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. But the question he left is, what is your biggest failure that you learned from?
Biggest failure would be not selling my consultancy business when my mother got cancer and I went home to look after her. Why is that a failure? I didn't have the value of that business at that time. Why do I not regret it? Because I went home to look after my mother. But it's a lesson that I've learned from and I wouldn't do again. I would definitely keep the value in that business and sell it for its worth.
Got it. And then still have gone back to be with your mom?
Absolutely. Just put it.
Got it. By not doing that, what happened, or what was the lesson?
It just means I had to restart from the beginning, because I just sort of, what's very common in Asia is people want to buy the shell. So they've got the history of the business, but they may not drive it where it was going. So in my case, they took that business for the tax purposes, the benefits of it being registered for years, whereas I should have probably just put it on ice and then repicked it up. But I wouldn't be here today if I didn't do that. So
live and you learn.
Absolutely, life has its lessons.
Yeah. That's a good one. All right. What's the question you'd like to leave for our next guest? You don't know who it is, but what do you want to leave?
How are you going to enhance humanity? Why do you think you will do it differently than what exists at this present day?
Okay. Let me write this down. So how are you going to enhance humanity, and why do you think you'll do it differently than what exists today? Okay. So.
And if you have an AI company, they're going to tell you straight away.
Yeah, they definitely are.
It's growing every single day and learning every single day.
How would you answer that question?
I would say that I have a true passion to get people out of pain as fast as possible. And I'm using all of my own knowledge plus gain knowledge of experts before me to bring that in an easily deliverable solution. So Energy Lounger is one of those solutions, and we will be, and I am coming out with more in the near future.
Heck yeah. Excited to see that, especially if there's one for migraines.
Yeah, that'd be
Thanks
amazing,
so much for, I would. Thank you so much for joining Decision Lab. Is there any place you'd like to send people, point people as we kind of wrap up?
Yeah, I think the usual suspects. So our website is energylounger.com. Our socials are also either Energy Lounger or Energy_Lounger. If people want to reach out to me personally, they can reach out to me through LinkedIn. Barry Warrington is my name, so they can reach and search for him, or they can search for Energy Lounger and they'll find me on LinkedIn as well. So I'm really there to help people accelerate their personal goals in business and well-being. So yeah, I'm happy to hear from anyone that's listening to this and wants to know more.
Beautiful. We'll make sure to put all of that and more in the comments, any things that you mentioned or linked, so that people can go and check that out down in the description. And again, thank you so much for hopping on with us and having a good time. And as everyone else knows, we have our lab results section next, where I hop on and kind of give my thoughts on the conversation. So stick around for that after we say bye to Barry. But otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for hopping on with us.
I'm glad I'm one of the Light Collective that have managed to make it onto the podcast. So good luck, and hopefully we can bring you some more.
Let's do it. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.
All right, let's dive into our lab results section here. Just me today. Chloe's out traveling for her birthday this week. So happy birthday, Chloe. I think she's in Montreal, if I remember correctly, with some of her friends. Should be a fun time. But today's lab results is just you and I. And so my transparent thoughts about what's going on here. Did they pass the lab test? And just kind of an understanding or like talking about my thoughts on whether or not they did or not. So in relation to, did they pass the lab test? Does it need more testing? Did they fail the lab test? My perspective personally is just kind of is similar to Lumaflex, similar to some of these other ones that we've talked about. I think that red light in general needs more research and needs more, like the industry itself just needs more research to be done on it. So that I still remains the same. Energy Lounger itself, there is tons of anecdotal evidence and things like that. There's tons of customer reviews, but again, as I mentioned on the show, on this episode, anecdotal evidence is not representative samples usually. There's no control for confounding variables. There's a survivorship bias. There's no longitudinal data, and it's just not clinical validation necessarily. So that is just something to keep in mind and remember whenever you're thinking about these types of things. And so all that to be said, did they pass the lab test? This, to me, needs more testing. I think directionally, it is something that is in the right direction. They're in a collective of really, really good things. They're doing more and more research, but it is just obvious that this industry as total, it's nothing against Energy Lounger in general, needs more research. That being said, would I buy this if I ran a clinic or a gym or something like that? Yeah, I think I would actually buy this. I think it's an interesting design. It's an interesting, like putting your feet up and the ergonomics and those types of things. I think that's really interesting. And the ability to stack it with other stuff, I think is a really, really smart play as well. So I think 100% I would buy this one if I ran a clinic for my own apartment. Maybe not necessarily. I think Lumaflex or some of these other things that are a little bit easier, like I just don't even know where I'd put it in my apartment. It's so big. So that would make it challenging. But if I like ran a gym or one of these clinics he's talking about, I think it would make sense. Something that I found surprising, or is there anything that caught me off guard? I think that I thought it was interesting how he, strangely enough, it was in more of the personal section, but he's talking about his mom and how he took time off and went and just was there for that. You don't always hear that. Sometimes you hear push through, like fight through it, like don't take the time to do that kind of stuff, which kind of sucks. I think we're humans. The other thing too that I thought was interesting was how he was talking about being able to walk into a vending machine or walk up to a vending machine for your health. I do also think that will come around. I think that was really interesting, and I had a great time with that. Any surprise moments or like kind of got you moments, I guess? The biggest one would be some of the claims on their website are kind of intense. Like they put the FDA cleared treatment for weight loss, anti-aging, pain relief, boosted immunity right underneath the FDA cleared, which, as I mentioned in the conversation, that doesn't, it means it's proven safe necessarily to be used. It doesn't mean that it's proven effective at weight loss and anti-aging and pain relief and things like that. The vast majority of research on red light has been in myopia in children. Like more conclusive research has been done in that vein. So that's something to think about, and was one of the moments where I was kind of like, well, you're putting these claims on your website. Like this is something maybe you should take a look at and have a conversation about. But he had good reasoning for it. He's seen it with his own eyes. He's been to tons of trade shows. He's been boots in the ground, even considering all of that's not necessarily science stuff. It's something that he felt comfortable doing. So more power to him. It's his brand, not mine. So, but just a surprising moment that I was kind of like, whoa, this stuff is right on your website. Overall, I think he's on the right path. He's in a group of really good, cool, and awesome people. Sarah Turner's been on the pod, so check out that episode if you want to hear more of a clinical neuroscience perspective on red light therapy. John was on literally last week with Lumaflex, so he's in a good group, and I think they're directionally going in the right where we need to go to get more consumer data and have more conversations about what is science, how is it evolving, and how are we evolving it as we have more and more consumer companies that are able to get consumer data in an easier way. I think that's a really interesting thing to think about. Okay, so that's it for the lab results. I hope this was helpful in giving you some clarity on deciding if today's brand is worth your time and money or if it's total BS. If you love this no BS approach to wellness, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if there's a brand or an expert you want us to talk to or interview or investigate, drop a comment, right? Drop us a comment. We watch all of them on YouTube, or hit us up on Instagram, Chloe or I, or hit up the Decision Lab on Instagram. We have an Instagram, trying to build a community over there as well. So hit a follow, get some of the clips, and then get into the conversation about the things that we're talking about with people. If you want us to ask certain questions, let us know. We're going to start trying to outline like who's coming up so that people can ask questions about who is coming up. And so we have more of those prepped and ready for the actual conversation, because you might not get a chance to talk to these founders. So if there's one you want us to chat with, let us know in the comments or DM us. But otherwise, see you next time on Decision Lab. Peace out, team.